How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. It's on Daf Pevav, Daf 86 of Masechta Gittin. Friends, alright. Friends, today we're going to learn a Mishnah today about gets that are kosher mida. Gets that are kosher midoraisa, but pasul midirabanan. Alright, let's do it. So we're going to start Daf Pevav Amud Aleph at the Mishnah, about 8-10 lines into the page. Okay. Says the Mishnah, Shlosha Gittin Psulin. There are three examples of Gittin that are Psulin, invalid. V'im nises avlad kosher. But nonetheless, if a woman gets divorced with these Gittin and then gets remarried and has children, so the children are not mamzerim. Akilu. If the get is pasul, if it's a problematic get and an unusable get, then that means that she's still married to the first husband. And if she gets if she basically has children with another fellow while still married to the first husband, so then the child is a mamzer. But we're saying that these gittin, even though they're psulin, if she, on the basis of these gittin gets remarried and then has children, those children are ksherin. Kosav b'chsav yado. If he himself wrote the get, right, as the pasuk says, right, v'chosav lo sefer krisus v'nosan b'yado. I feel like I should know that pasuk by heart at this point. We're about to wrap up Masechta Gittin. Right, it says that he writes her a get. So if he wrote the get himself, but there are no witnesses. Okay, but technically speaking, it's right. He wrote the document and he gave it to her. Or even if there are witnesses, ve'ein bozman, but there's no time recorded in the get. Yesh bozman, the time is recorded in the get. Ve'ein bo ela eit echad, but there's only one witness. Hare elu. Shlosha Gittin Psulin v'mnises avlad kosher. So these were just now three examples of Gittin Psulin that if nonetheless they are used and she gets remarried on the basis of these Gittin, the child is kosher. Rabbi Elazar Omer, of course, we know Rabbi Elazar's opinion from the early days of Masechta Gittin. Well, now that we're wrapping up Masechta Gittin and we're kind of quoting Gemaras from earlier on in our journey, So it does feel like a while ago, B'fanei nichtov, b'fanei nechtom, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Meir, right? Ede Misira Karte, Ede Chasima Karte. That was a few months ago already. Okay. Rabbi Elazar almost says, Rabbi Elazar, Afal Pisha in all of Edim, even if there are no witnesses signed on the document, El Shenosnu Lav B'fnei Edim, but they delivered the get in front of witnesses, in the presence of witnesses, kosher. Well, the get is kosher v'gov nechasim mishubadim. She could collect iksube from nechasim mishubadim she'eno edim chosmim ala get elim pnei tikun olam. Because after all, according to Rabbi Elazar, the sole purpose of the witnesses signing on the get is only because of tikun olam, is only out of concern for what if the Eidei Misira, the ones who witnesses the giving of the get, which is what's really the important part according to Rabbi Elazar. But if what happens if those witnesses move to Wellwood? So then how are you going to prove it? So therefore you still have Eidei Chasima, even though they're not necessary midoraisa for the get, but still we do it because of Tikkun Olam. Now for the Gemara V'suleko, there are only three examples of Gittin that shouldn't be used, but if they are used, the Vlad is kosher nonetheless. V'a'ika get Yoshin. What about a get Yoshin? What about a get that was written and then the couple had bia after that? That's a get yoshin. Beis Hillel says that you shouldn't use it. But nonetheless, if a get yoshin was used, the vlad is kosher. Hasam lo teitze. Well, by a get yoshin, there's no need for them to dissolve the marriage. Hacha teitze. But over here, by these examples, then you would dissolve the marriage. So the child is kosher, but the couple cannot remain together. So that makes sense if you say that here they cannot remain together. Okay, so then there's a distinction between get yoshin and here, these examples. But what about according to the opinion who says that here oichit, they can remain together? So if that's the case, what's the difference between a get yoshin and this? In both cases, the vlad is kosher, so why not list a get yoshin oichit? So ma'yikal meimar, no. So how come it's not listed? So hasam tinosi lechatchila hachadiyevin. Well, there's still a difference. By a get yoshin, we learned that that she can even get married lichatchila, right? We learned a few days ago. We said, right, if the husband goes away and he's not around, and there's this get yoshin, so she can even get remarried lichatchila, hacha di'evid. But here it's only b'di'evid. You should not use these gittin. If you did, and she got remarried based on them, okay, fine, b'seder, so the vlad is kosher. But that's the difference. Get yoshin is lichatchila, she can get married. Over here it's only b'di'evid. V'ha'ika get kereach. Okay, but what about get kereach? A bald get, right? The get that is folded up into a bunch of folds, and there are less signatures than there are folds. So hasam havlad mamzer. But the difference is that over there, the vlad would be a mamzer. Hacha avlad kosher, whereas over here, the child is kosher, and that is why the get kereach is not included. Well, that makes sense. Right? That's why the get kereach is not included here, because it would be a mamzer by get kireach. But that only makes sense according to Reb Meir, who says that kol mishanim matbeah shanu chacham begin havlad mamzer. Right? So if you make a mistake, or if the chacham said to use a get kireach and there aren't enough signatures, if the chacham said to use the folded up get and there are less signatures, so it's a problematic get, and the child would be a mamzer. But over here the child is kosher. So that makes sense according to Reb Meir, who makes that distinction. That's why the get kireach is not included here. But according to the rabbis, who say that by a get kereach the child is not a mamzer, so then why is it not listed over here? So hasam teitze achalo teitze. Well, by a get kereach, she cannot remain married if she got remarried based on the basis of the get kereach, but over here she can remain married by these examples. That makes sense according to the opinion who says that over here she can remain married. But if you say that over here she also cannot remain married, so then why not include get kereach? So b'mekushelo kamaris, the Gemara says, well, we're not talking about folded up gets. Okay, we're not talking about folded up gets here. That's why we left it out, because we weren't talking about it. Okay. Vayikashlom malchus. What about the example of a right? We said that in a get you write the name of the kingdom in which the get was written. So in Babel it would be the Babylonian kingdom, but if you leave that out, or if you write the wrong kingdom, then it's a problem with the get. So hasam teitze achalo teitze. Well, over there she cannot remain married. Here she could remain married. Well, that only makes sense if you say it over here. She in fact can remain married. But if you said she cannot remain married, well then why not include a get that there's a mistake regarding the shlom malchus? So and for the Gemara, mukim la Reb Meir v'asam avlad mamzer avlad kosher. Well, we say it's like Reb Meir who would say that by if you mess up with the shlom malchus, then you changed the requirements of the chachomim, and therefore the child will be a mamzer, whereas over here the child is kosher. Okay, fine, and therefore so based on Reb Meir who says that by shlom malchus the child is a mamzer, that is why we leave it out over here. Minyana dereisha l'mutemai. If you look at our Mishnah, the Mishnah starts off by saying Shlosha Gittin Psulin, Femnisis Avlad Kosher. There are 3 examples of Gittin Psulin, and if the child and if she gets married, the child is kosher. And if you skip 3 lines later, Nochamol Hare Elu Shlosha Gittin Psulin Femnisis Avlad Kosher. How come the Mishnah had to 2 times mention that there are 3 Gittin Psulin that if she gets married, the Vlad is kosher? So Minyana dereisha lemute hanida amorin. So the first count, when we say there are only 3 of these examples, is to exclude the examples that we just gave, to the exclusion of shlom malchus, to the exclusion of get kereach, to the exclusion of get yoshin. Minyana de seifa, and the counting in the seifa of the Mishnah lemute adatanya is to exclude the following case that we learn in a brayso. Maybe get medina sayom. If a fellow brings a get from Medina Sayom, of course, I think, what was it? The first Mishnah, I think, of all of Masech Gittin, said, right, Tzarech she'omer b'fanei nichtav b'fanei nechtam. Nosnu la v'lo amar la b'fanei nichtav b'fanei nechtam. Ashande. The Shaliach gave the get to the wife and did not say b'fanei nichtav b'fanei nechtam. Yotzi v'avlad mamzer divrei Meir. So, she cannot, if she gets remarried, she cannot remain married. And the child, if they had a child, the child would be a mamzer. So we see, to the exclusion of that case, based on Reb Meir v'Chacham Omers, the Chacham argue and say, Ein avlad mamzer, the child is not a mamzer, Ketzid Yaisif, so what do you do? Yitlenu emeno, just take the get back from her, v'yachzav yitnenu la b'fnei edim, and then give it back to her, v'yomar, and say, that it was, written and signed before me, and then, the get, and then we can know that it was a kosher get. Okay. But according to Reb Meir, the child would be a mamzer, and therefore that's why it's excluded from our Mishnah, where the child would be kosher. Okay, fine. Kosav b'chsav yodoi ve'ein olav edim. Okay, so the Mishnah had said that if he writes the get himself, and there are no witnesses, so again, right, she shouldn't get remarried on the basis of a get, but if she did, and there are children, the get is the children are kosher. Amar Rav Ksav Yodo Shaninu, and Rav says we're talking about Dafka when he wrote it. Now, Aheya, what is Rav commenting on? Inema Reisha, if he's commenting on the Reisha where it says Kosav b'Ksav Yodo ve'ein olav edim pshita Ksav Yodo Katoni. Obviously, he's talking about where he wrote it. The Mishnah explicitly says we're talking about where he wrote it. Ve'ela Amitzi also. Okay, so maybe it's talking about the middle case. But Arayeshal of Edim. But the middle case is where there were witnesses. There was no time, but there were witnesses. And if there are witnesses, then who cares who wrote it? Sela Seifa, rather it's talking about the Seifa, Yesh Bozman ve'ein bo el eirecha. When it says, okay, the time is written in the get, but there's only one witness. So when there's only one witness, and we say that the child is kosher, says Rav, it's only kosher with one witness and his own handwriting. But if it was one witness and the scribe who wrote it, then the child would be a mamzer. V'davka ksav yodo, the aid, specifically his handwriting, and an aid, the child is kosher. Avol ksav sofer, the aid, lo. But if the scribe wrote it, together with the witness, then the get would be possible. Fine. Ushmuel Amar, says Shmuel, afilu kosav sofer ve'ed. Even if the scribe wrote it along with an aid, with a witness, it's also kosher, right? Even if a scribe wrote it together with one witness, it's the child would be kosher. Shari Shaninu kosav sofer ve'ed kosher, because we've learned twice already. We're going to learn it again when I'm Peizayin tomorrow. That if you write the Mishnah, although I think we might actually wait for 2 days from now to learn it's the Mishnah on Peizayin Amud Beis. So kosav sofer ve'ed kosher, right? So we see in that Mishnah, we saw it twice before. We had the opinion of Rabbi Yirmiyah, chasam sofer, right? There was Rabbi Yossi and Mili Mimsur on the Bezdin and what does it say? What was it? Ka'omer. I can't even remember. Amri Ksov, or I don't even remember what. Oh gosh, I can't remember. I learned it on the airplane. Now I can't remember. What was it? Okay. I feel like I'm in the right place. Omer Imru. Right, that whole thing. That was complicated stuff. Anyways, but Shmuel is understanding that Mishnah face value, that it means that if the scribe wrote it, and one aide signed it, so then it's a kosher get. Okay, fine. So because it's aid kosher. V'Rav midami, whereas Rav would say, yeah, but you can't compare those two. But over there it's saying that she can get married lichatchila. Here we're talking about only b'di'evet. Ushmuel lekasur, Shmuel says no, it's no problem. Ki'ilu, you could say that both over here and over there we're talking about where the scribe wrote it and one aide signed it. Over there it's kosher lichatchila. Over here it's only b'di'evet because ha b'safer de muvak va b'safer de muvak. Darin, when we say it's lichatchila, that's talking about a scribe that is an expert and knows that he can only write the get if he had the explicit instruction from the husband. But over here, where it's only b'di'evet, it's talking about a scribe that is not an expert. Rabbi Yochanan says like Rav that it's davka if the husband himself wrote it. Amarle Rabbi Elazar hareyesh olav edim. Rabbi Elazar for some reason thought that Rabbi Yochanan was talking about the middle case, in which case he says, but the middle case talks about when there are witnesses. If there are witnesses, who cares who wrote it? So Amalei Seifa, so Rabbi Yochanan clarifies for Rabbi Elazar that he is referring to the Seifa that when it says that what was the sefer? Right, yesh bo zman ve'ein bo eid echad ella, right, ve'ein bo ella eid echad, I guess. Yeah, that there's it says the time, but there's only one witness. So in that case, the child is kosher only if the husband himself wrote the get. Zimnin Omar Rav Teitze, Zimnin Omar Rav Lo Teitze. Sometimes Rav would say regarding the cases in the Mishnah that she cannot remain married to her second husband, but sometimes Rav would say that she can remain married to her second husband. Okay, so what's the difference? Yesh labonim lo teitze. So if she has children with the second husband, so then they can remain together, because you know why. You know exactly why. Because if she has kids and then the yentas find out that she is no longer married to her second husband because there are issues with her first get, forget about it. Those kids are never going to get a shidduch. They're never going to get into yeshivas. They're not going to have any friends, no nothing. So therefore, in that case, Rav says, because of the yentas, they can stay married. But ain't lo banim, but if she doesn't have kids, and therefore the yentas will talk about it for one Shabbos afternoon, it'll give them something to do, but they'll forget about it by the next Shabbos afternoon. There'll be something else to talk about. So in that case, teitze, right? Ain't lo banim teitze, so then she should not remain married. Moshe Mar Zutra Breidu Av Tuvia. Mar Zutra Breidu Av Tuvia asks a kasha. V'chulan shayu boyin sofek kiddushin o sofek gerishin hare elu choltzis v'lo misyabmis do 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 bam 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 badam. Friends, the first Mishnah of Masechta Yevomis listed 15 ervas that their tzaras don't need to worry about yibum. Okay, so for example, if Ruvain is married to his brother Shimon's daughter, and then Ruvain dies, so Shimon obviously does not do yibum with his daughter, but not only that, Shimon doesn't do yibum with his daughter's co-wife either. Okay, potter. But now, v'chulan, let's read that again, shahayu boin sofek kiddushin. But if the kiddushin between Ruvain and Shimon's daughter was only a sofek, or sofek gerishin, or there was a sofek divorce, well, in that case, what do you do? Because it's unclear if Reuven was actually married to Shimon's daughter. If he was married to Shimon's daughter, so then the tzara would be Petura. If he wasn't married to Shimon's daughter, so then the tzara is chayeves to do yibum with Shimon. So just do chalitza, right? So in the event that there is mitzvah of yibum, so you're doing chalitza, and if there's no yibum, okay, so you're doing chalitza anyways, but it's not a big deal. Keitzad Sofek Kiddushin. What's an example of Sofek Kiddushin? Zarak la Kiddushin. Well, if he throws her Kesef Kiddushin, Sofek Karav Lo, Sofek Karav Lo. We're not sure if it's closer to her or closer to him. So that's Sofek Zeo, Sofek Kiddushin. That's Sofek Kiddushin. Sofek Gerishin. What's the example? What's Sofek Gerishin? Sofek divorce. Kosav Bichsav Yodo Ve'ein Olav Edim. The examples in our Mishnah. If he himself wrote it, but there are not any witnesses. Yesh olav edim, or there are witnesses, ve'ein bozman, but there's no time. Yesh bozman, there is time. Ve'ein bo ela erecho, but there's only one witness. Harezeh sofek gerishin. That is the example of sofek gerishin. V'yomrid lo teitze. But now, Rav, if you say that she could remain, that in these situations she can remain married, meaning that it's a kosher get, well, if it's a kosher get, well, then you might have a situation where the tzara assumes that Reuven was not actually married to Shimon's daughter because it's a kosher get, in which case she might end up doing yibum with Shimon. So v'amrit lo teitze, if you say that she remains married because it's a good get, tzarasa asya liabume. Well, then the tzara of Shimon's daughter might end up doing yibum with Shimon because they'll assume that Reuven and Shimon's daughter were divorced. Do you think that Shimon's daughter would be a good name for a book? Shimon's daughter. Or maybe a restaurant name? Shimon's daughter? Would you eat there? Try it out. Maybe I can ask my friend Lenny Nerafshan. I can ask him if he wants to maybe rename one of his restaurants for temporarily, just to see if the name's, how the name goes. Shimon's daughter. Tisyam ve'im b'chach klum. Let them do yibum. Who really cares? Chashash d'Rabbanani. It's only concerned anyways. Mid'Rabbanan, Mid'Oraisa. It's a kosher get. So therefore, right? If you wrote the get, so it's fine. Well, in any of these cases, Mid'Oraisa, they're kosher gets. So even if she does, the tzara does yibum with Shimon, it's fine. Fine. Levi Omar L'olam Lo Teitze. Levi actually says that she never needs to, break up from her new husband, leave her new husband, right? Meaning Rav sometimes, right? Rav said, well, if she has children, then they stay married. If she doesn't have children, so then they don't stay together. Whereas Levi says, no, they can always stay together. Rabbi Yochanan also says that they can always remain together, regardless of if they have children together or not. And Rabbi Yochanan said to the children of Reb Chalafta from a place called Huna, this is what your father said, La'olam, lo, my shoes are untied. That's fun. Okay, La'olam lo teitze, they don't, they're at that, she doesn't, they're at that they could remain married always. The kartzis sheba amr, and additionally, a kartzis that's in sheaves, like grain. Eina poseles b'mechatas, does not pasel mechatas, does not make mechatas pasel. My kartzis, what's kartzis? Amr Abaye says, Abaye, deid visa devene kife, it's these flies that are found among grain. Must have Daniel bar Rav Katina. Kola ofis posling b'mechatas, but Daniel bar Rav Katina asks that all the birds pos of mechatas, if they drink, if they sip from the mechatos, from the water that's mixed together with the ashes of the paraduma, then the paraduma, then the mechatas becomes posel. Chutz min Yonah, except for Yonah is a dove, right? I think so. Because it sucks, right? Meaning the dove is able to consume water without spitting anything back. Vim Isa, now if this is true, that oichid, the kartzis, is acceptable, so nisne chutz miyona v'kartzis, say from, except for doves as well as kartzises. Lo psika lay, so we say, well, it's not super clear the whole kartzis thing, because the gedola lo pasla, if it's an adult fly, so then, if it's like a big fly, I guess, so then it sucks without spitting. Viktana pasla, but a I don't know, small fly, a minor fly, I don't know. Then it's going to passel the mechatas. Vadkama, how do you define if it's big or small? Based on a kazais. If it's a kazai, if it's less, I guess one, what does it say? Ad kazai? I don't know. One, if it's less than a kazais, I guess, then it's considered small. If it's more than a kazais, then it's considered big. All right, what do you want me to tell you? All right, friends, here's the deal. This next part of the Gemara, I think I forgot to review it. Basically, the groove ran out, and I still had this chunk to do, and then I went to get soup, and now I jumped into recording, and then another groove started, and I was like, oh, I want to join this person, and then, so I joined, and then I was like, well, I gotta jump into the recording now, because I'm on the clock, and then I was like, wait, but I forgot to review this part, so I haven't reviewed this part, but I don't think it's a big deal, because I seem to remember this next part being actually really easy. I guess we'll figure it out. Let's go weiter. So, where are we? So, Rabbi Lazar Omer Afal Pi v'chulei. So, Rabbi Lazar had said, right, Eidei Mesira Karte, right? So, Omer Rav Yehuda, Omer Rav, Halacha, Rabbi Lazar Begittin. Okay, that's pretty easy. I review this as name of Rav, that the halacha is like Rabbi Lazar, that Eidei Mesira Karte. Fine. When I said, says Rav Yehuda, when I said this before Shmuel, Omer Af Bishtaris. Okay. Not just by Gittin, but I guess by all shtaris. Alright, fine. Okay, so by all shtaris, even the signatures on all stars are not 100% necessary. Alright, interesting. Rav says b'shtaris lo, but Rav says that no, it's not like Rabbi Lazar by other stars, only by Gittin. Ha katani v'gove minchasim mishubadim, but doesn't it say that she can collect from nechasim mishubadim. What does Rashi say? Im shtaru o get ze gove ksuba minchas mishubadim. Tetna b'ksuba so tzeh get v'enu ksuba gove minchas gove ksuba so. So what? So I guess that dag nabbit. Okay, one second. Let me look this up. That if you have an unsigned document, then you can also collect from Nechasim Meshubadim. So that sounds like it's by other stars as well. So Belazar Tarti Omer. Belazar is saying two things. That you don't need to sign a get, and that you don't need to sign regular stars. V'Rav Savar Kavasa Bechada U'Falagale Bechada. Now, Rav agrees with Rabbi Belazar when it comes to Gittin, but not by Shar Stars. It would have been good actually to review this first. I think it would have actually helped me with Pshat in the Mishnah. I think I made a mistake in the Mishnah. That when it says that you can collect from the Chasim Shubadim, so I think that collecting from the Chasim Shubadim actually is talking about other shtaros actually can collect from the Chasim Shubadim even without signatures. But maybe it's not talking about, because can you collect the ksuba from the Chasim Shubadim? I think we said the other day that you can't, right? Collect the ksuba? Or is that just the mizonis? I don't know, now I don't remember. I'd have to look that up. Okay, where are we? Okay, fine. V'chein Amar Rabbi Yaakov, Bar Idi, Amar Bishua ben Levi, Halacha Kabbalazar, Begittin. Rabbi Yanai Amar, Afilu Reach Haget, Ein Bo. So Rabbi Yanai says that I guess he doesn't hold like Rabbi Elazar, and he says that if there's no witnesses on it, then it doesn't even have reach haget. It doesn't even make her, pasul kahuna. Rabbi Yanai leisle the Rabbi Elazar. So does Rabbi Yanai not hold of Rabbi Elazar? Achikamer. This is what Rabbi Yanai is saying. L'Rabbanon afilu reach haget ein bo. According to the Rabbanon who argue on Rabbi Elazar, well then, if there are no witnesses, it's not even a reach haget. Okay. Rabbi Chanina Amar Rish Lakish Halacha Rabbi Elazar Begittin. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Afilu Reach Haget Ein Bo. Okay, so here also, right? So Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Chanina says name Rish Lakish that the halacha is like Rabbi Elazar by Gittin. Rabbi Yochanan says it doesn't even have a Reach Haget. So name Rabbi Yochanan they say the Rabbi Elazar. Does that mean the Rabbi Yochanan doesn't know the Rabbi Elazar? Achikama the Rabbanan Afilu Reach Haget Ein Bo means according to the rabbis there isn't even a Reach Haget. Shalach le Rabbi Abed Bar Zabda the Mari Bar Mar by name Rav Huna. Ask Rav Huna, halacha Rabbi Elazar Begittin or ein halacha? Is the halacha like Rabbi Elazar Begittin or not? Adochi noch nafshe to Rav Huna, but Rav Huna died before he was able to ask him. The Rabbi Brei, so Rabbi Bar Rav Huna says, Hachi Amar Abba Mishmei. I think the Rav. This is what my father had said in the name of Rav. Halacha Rabbi Elazar Begittin that the halacha is like Rabbi Elazar when it comes to Gittin. Rabbi Sina Bekiin Badavar. B'dvar halacha, and the rabbis who are bekiin b'dvar halacha mishum Rabbeinu Amru said the name of Rav halacha Rabbi Elazar Begittin that the halacha is like Rabbi Elazar Begittin. Rav Chama Bar Guria Amar Rav that says Rav Chama Bar Guria the name of Rav, and I guess that's the Rabbi Seinu bekiin b'dvar halacha Rabbi Elazar Begittin. Yikidam that those who say v'chavereinu bekiin b'dvar halacha that our friends who are bekiin b'dvar halacha as opposed to Rabbi Seinu bekiin b'dvar halacha the Talmidei Rabbeinu and the students of Rav, Mishum Rabbeinu, in the name of Rav Amru, they said, Halacha Rabbi Elazar Begittin, that the halacha is like Rabbi Elazar when it comes to Gittin. Rav Chizda Amar Rav, Chama Bar Guria Amar Rav, Halacha Rabbi Elazar Begittin. V'chein Kiyasa Ravin Amar Rabbi Elazar Amar Rav, Halacha Rabbi Elazar Begittin. You see, that whole chunk really wasn't that hard. It was just people saying that the halacha is like Rabbi Elazar when it comes to Gittin. Shmuel seems to say that the halacha is like Rabbi Elazar also by other stars as well. Friends, that was Daf Pei Vav, Masech Gittin. I hope you enjoyed. Peace out.